Thanks for staying with us on SABC News. The RMB BER Business Confidence Index slipped by 2 points to 31. Let's speak to Siobhan Redford, an economist at Rand Merchant Bank. She joins me now. Thanks so much for your time on SABC News. Just before we get into the figures, tell us about the Business Confidence Index, what it measures, why it's there, and who looks out for it.
So the RMB BER Business Confidence Index is a survey conducted of a number of senior business managers across the building, manufacturing, retail, wholesale, trade, and new vehicle dealers. So it looks at a segment of the economy that is particularly good at giving us a bit of a leading indicator as to what is going on in economic activity in the economy.
So tell us the period that you measured, and then that index slipped by 2 points to 31. Practically, what does that mean? What's leading to that?
So it basically means that about 3 out of 10, or about 30%, so less than 1/3 of those respondents are happy with current business, economic or business conditions. So they are struggling. It really is a really good way of reflecting what we're seeing. I think it flows well, kind of fits in well with the news that we're looking at in terms of issues with supply chain issues related to our ports, to freight rail, obviously load shedding, which has been ongoing for a long time, as well as the high interest rate environment and some high inflation still as well.
Siobhan, the main drag on the BCI was from new vehicle dealers, and then on a smaller level, wholesale. Take us through those two, what it means and why there's so much of a drag, in particular with new vehicles.
So the new vehicle sales is a really good kind of pulse for what's happening with consumers, and particularly interest rate sensitive items. Bearing in mind a lot of people will have to borrow money to purchase a new car, and that means it comes at some kind of interest rate, often linked to something like your prime rate or some other repo rate linked rate. And that means that as soon as your interest rates go up, and we know that they've more than doubled over the last 2 years, that it becomes more difficult to budget for a new car, particularly if you're already holding debt, say in the form of a mortgage or, credit card debt, for example.
Siobhan, there was an uptick, although quite muted, in manufacturing business confidence. What led to that?
It probably is some ease of doing business. We see quite strong demand in the chemical sector. I think that, manufacturing remains at a very weak level, and, it really is, it's a slight improvement, but it's really still a sign at 26 index points that manufacturing is kind of really bearing the brunt of the structural issues in our economy.
What else is bearing the brunt of those structural issues? And can we look forward into the future, as you do with that index, and see what may happen? Because these conditions seem to be prevailing from quarter to quarter. We're not really dealing with these substantial structural challenges that our economy is facing.
You're absolutely correct. I mean, this is the nature of the structural challenges facing the economy. Unfortunately, they are enduring. I think that we have seen some improvement in load shedding, but unfortunately, it continues to hamper a number of companies. And, if you speak to business, you can put solar PV in for a lot, but there are things where you need quite a bit of power, a big boost, and that would require, say, a generator. And with petrol prices and diesel prices being very high, it is adding to the cost. The fact that we have so many ships stuck outside stuck out at port, out at sea, unable to offload their goods at port, just as we're about to hit what is probably the best part of the year for retailers and wholesalers in particular, given that it's, you've got Black Friday and the festive season coming up, is going to make it difficult. It's difficult also for manufacturers in that respect to, bring in their supplies. But once they've also managed to finish with whatever they're manufacturing, to actually export them. So I think manufacturing really is kind of the worst out of it, but it has obviously affected your mining as well, which isn't the mining industry isn't surveyed in the BER, but definitely affecting mining, anything that really uses inputs, particularly that need to be imported, as well as your kind of anything that is export focused, and where there is also a need for electricity. So it's a very challenging environment, which is now being compounded by very high interest rates. And again, that's not just in South Africa, that's a global phenomenon as well.
All right, Siobhan Redford, an economist at RMB, thank you so much for your time taking us through that business confidence index, the numbers. Really appreciate it this afternoon.